She didn't hear the three black moms.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Well, well, well. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Mama Joy just saying, hey, what a blessing to be here today. We're so excited to this today because, this is June and this is a month that's really exciting for many of us who are America in Black. Because, it's Black, not just Black history, but it's Black Music Month. And so we know that that's an honor for us. We also know that in June, we celebrate Juneteenth, was the ending journey of our Emancipation Proclamation. The journey of the Emancipation Proclamation began in January 1st, 1863, and it wasn't until June 19th in 1865 that the completion of that emancipation journey ended in Texas. So I'm so excited because I believe that we're being blessed to really, with the Spirit, to just cross over and bring us together so that we can have conversations. And so, as our program, my topic is walk in your divine authority. The more that each one of us take responsibility for our own divine authority, we'll see that our walk for healing, for unity, for peace, and joy will come about in time because we're going to be just naturally, organically brought together. And I'm just really delighted that for this day, because I was inspired by a lady who had visited Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I got really excited because that she's interlocking with my ministry of the Emancipation Proclamation. And it's so very few people that I can have a discussion with about that time in America during that Civil War period, during that Emancipation Proclamation period, during that time of the great upheaval. And so many of us discussed it in many different realms, from a military, from a social, from a political, and don't see God in it. So when I heard that she had visited, and I could feel it in her voice, and she went with her son and her husband, it touched me very deeply. I said, I've got to talk with her. And she said yes. How about that? She said yes. So she's going to be with us in about another 5 minutes or so. But in keeping with our desire to always tap into our history, or that part of history that's not spoken about so much. And I think that is something that walking your authority is really encouraging. All of us have a story that needs to be told. All of us have stories that need to be shared. And when we center God in the midst of it, it brings a value. It brings a value that we all have an ability to embrace. And in the American spirit, that's something that we want to be able to look as a blessing, to have a right to the freedom of expression. And in telling our stories, we'll learn how closely related we are, and that we are more alike than we are different. And I enjoy that. Just doesn't that feel good? But we're in a society where there's another tone always telling us about who's different from whom, and who's better than the other. And I feel that this beautiful nation deserves more than that, because that's not the words that were formed into what it was birthed in. But I want to ask my spouse if he would introduce us to a video that I found on YouTube. And it's someone I think all of us should know. And it's Miss Emma Booker from Sarasota, Florida. It's so many things that we look for the school system to do. But the power of the people is in God in the people, and the excitement that people have about their relationship with God and love for freedom, that they can tell their stories. And those of us who are willing to listen can learn and see just how powerful we really are. So, could you get that started for us, please? And we all can learn about this amazing Miss Emma Booker from Sarasota, Florida, and how she made a difference here in America. Okay, you say you don't have the video. Would you please check your email? She made a big difference. I sent it out, and we've been having different challenges. But as I'm getting older, and believe me, that's a blessing to be around a while. You see many patterns, and you start understanding that. You start understanding that. Oh, I got through that, even though you didn't even know how you were going to get through it. Some way or another, you just hang around long enough, and you understand that, as we in our community say, you got to make a way for you. And we don't even know how, but that's the way the spirit works. And that's how you grow with faith too. After a few rounds, you begin to understand that there's 24 hours in the day, and there's just so much you can do. But if you just keep striving to do the best that you can, before you know it, that day has passed, you've gotten over it. And that's a new understanding that I get now about being an overcomer. When you get through it, you say, well, hey, baby, I got through that. And when you see it faced again, you just buckle up. I'm built for the challenge. So are we ready yet? Okay. Well, we are just going to move forward and we'll bring her in at another time when we can get that straight. Emma Boomer, a Booker, was a woman who is amazing, and I can relate to her because I had a great grandfather who was that way too, and I'm going to get his story together. And she started the black school system of in Sarasota, in Florida, to challenge the system there when they wanted to keep the kids just to the sixth grade. And she challenged them, and she said, "No, they can learn better." And the politicians that said, "No, these are black children. Just be grateful that they got to sixth grade. That's all they need to know." But she walked in her divine authority in spite of the segregation, in spite of all of the mindsets against her by being black. And she stood strong. And she was able to teach and had not even finished school yet. You see, that's the beauty. And when you're walking with God, you don't have to get a degree. You just have to believe, hey, and walk it, trusting and knowing that a way will be made for you. And she did that. And she was able to raise it up to eighth grade. And then she started a school. She just kept raising up till it was finished to high school. We're going to make sure that we get this started. And I'm going to be working on getting that video because it's about 3 minutes long. But I always try to get it in this segment. And I apologize for not having it right ready for you. But in the meantime, let me move over to our guest. And this phenomenal lady and woman via Australia to this country. And she has the sweetest little accent. I was trying to figure out, okay, where is she from? I said it's a little like British, and it's but not quite British. And if you watch some of these movies, it's a to me it's a much sweeter sound, a sweeter, a softer than the tight-lipped British. And most of the movie stars that have it, I love to hear them speak. But anyway, this young lady that you're going to meet today is from Australia, and she has a wonderful full life experience, and she's currently pastor of the Wisconsin Family Church, and it's FFWP, the Shield Family Federation for World Peace. And she's now currently working as a medical social worker in hospice. And believe it or not, just last week, I was inquiring with a couple of people, about 3 people last week, about going into chaplaincy for hospice and clinical or working in the hospitals because there's so much need for people who are going through the ends of their life, which is the hospice portion, and in the hospital where you've grown older and there's no one there who need to be assured that God has not left them, that God cares. And so that's what she's doing now. And she's a medical social worker. And she was raised in Australia, which means she has a lot of Australia's background, not just blood, but experiences, because she was there until at the age of 18 when her mother passed. Well, I'm not going to tell you her whole story. I met her through ACLC, American Clergy Leadership Conference, Women in Ministry. And she's a good person for me to have around because when we do decorations, she just says, "Oh, just move Mama Joy. I can take care of that," because she's real tall. And when I'm trying to decorate. She'll stand and she just stands tall and just put her hands up and it's done. She's tall and she's a very solid woman with a very beautiful heart. And I'm so honored to welcome her here as a friend and as a member of ACLC. And I'm very grateful for the organization because it puts me in touch with people from so many different nations and walks in life. So right now, put your hands together and let's welcome to the platform here of Walking Your Divine Authority, as she's going to do today. She does every day, I do believe. Pastor Marian North. God bless you.
Mama Joy, thank you very much. I feel very uplifted by your introduction of me. Yeah, and as part of myself today, I would like to introduce you to my husband, Glenn, who is sitting here beside me. He's the reason I'm in Wisconsin. And we have our eldest son, Daniel, who's at law school in Nebraska, with us today also, because we three had the blessing to travel together to Gettysburg. Actually, we didn't have the intention to go to Gettysburg. We were in Pennsylvania, and looking at the map, we were near Gettysburg, so that's a great place to go. So we went there. We spent a whole day there. It was a very powerful experience to be there and to be there together. There are so many monuments and so many memorials to all different aspects of this 3-day battle. One of the points that intrigued me greatly about this battle is that neither side planned there to be a battle in Gettysburg. Not the northern side, which was called the Army of the Potomac, and not the southern side under Reverend Lee. But there was a battle there, and it is immortalized in American history. I don't think there's a school student who hasn't heard about the Battle of Gettysburg. But the Battle of Gettysburg further interests me because it's the first Union victory in the Civil War. Up until that time, the Civil War Army, no matter who was leading it, had not been victorious in a battle against Reverend Lee.
Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee, yeah. He was a tremendous general, yeah. And it seems to me that this battle in Gettysburg took place not on the time set by the northern contingent, nor on the time set by the southern contingent, but on a time set by God. God decided this should be a battle. God decided that this field would be consecrated.
I understand fully. That's why I wanted you here, because this battle and any of those battles of the Civil War were sacred battles for us, for this nation to make a decision as to whether or not it was going to be a slave country or a free country, and also to understand the minds of the people of that period as they saw it as the War of Armageddon.
Yeah, it was very much a battle between good and evil. The monuments there are to the Union troops and to the Confederate troops. Both sides shed their blood. It was a huge sacrifice of people. And in that sacrifice, there was grounds that God had for the redemption, the salvation, and the protection of his America. It's very important to remember that America is God's country. She may think it was founded for political or economic or whatever reasons, but no, God founded America. And God has a mission for America. It's a providential nation. It's great because it's blessed by God. And it will lose its greatness if it deviates from its allegiance to God. So this America is such a sacred place. And this journey to Gettysburg was an amazing experience, to be there together, to walk over these fields. It's like going to a holy place, you know, and realizing that, yes, just as Lincoln said, this land is sanctified way beyond our ability to decree it as sacred by the people who shed their blood here. And they shed it because of the beliefs that they had. But out of this battle, this is not the end of the Civil War. The war rages for another 2 years. But this battle is the pivotal point. And this battle is where, in November of that same year, Abraham Lincoln gave the absolutely beloved Gettysburg. So that was not an accident. This is God's timing. This was what God wanted to come out of that battle. This is how God is looking for the salvation and the victory of America. And God is absolutely dedicated to the people with whom he is working. I'm so moved by this program, this walking in my authority, because Heavenly Parent needs us to exercise our authority based on his blessing and his grace.
Yes.
So under leadership of Mother Moon, who's a co-founder of ACLC and Women in Ministry, she has been asking women around the world in so many international conventions to understand that this is women's time in history. This is the time for women to stand up. This is the time for women to exercise what? Divine authority. It's the authority of Heavenly Mother manifest in the women in the world. And when, for me, as a woman and a mother, being in Gettysburg, there are so many statues of young men, and they are representing the loss of so many men at that time. So our reflection of our sons is to take good care of them. We don't want to see them go to war. We don't want to repeat this again.
We don't.
We want it to be finished. So my reflection of this experience is that I'm so grateful that we could go. And like all experiences, it's different for each person who goes. So I'm very grateful to Mama Joy that she included my husband, Glenn, my son, Daniel, so they can share something of their reflection and experience at this time. And I'd like to ask Glenn if he would like to share some very personal connection with this Civil War. So Glenn.
Okay. Let me first say hello, Glenn. Let me welcome you to the platform of the Female Solution. And this is right on the hem of what Pastor North says, and that is, it is time for women to make this stand. And as you notice, this is the Female Solution because we have come to that point of understanding. And our CEO, Sister Naima Latif, she's had this show for a number of years, I know over 10 years. And it's always been the Female Solution because that's the way the Creator guided her within herself to know that. And so that's one of the things that I wanted it understood, that there are many of us here in America who have been led to understand that we have a divine calling. And when I heard and Mother Moon stepped into that position after Father Moon left, it made it so easy for me to grasp because I said, that's who I am. And because of the level of the visibility of her coming outside of it. And Glenn, I'm going to get to you because here we have commercials, we have sponsorships, and we have to make sure we get our sponsors on it. I'm going to ask Daniel, when we come back, I'd like for you to just Google and pull up that Emancipation Proclamation that your mother called upon. Because we miss so much when we don't understand that God is in the midst of all of it. And that's one of the beautiful assignments that I've ever had in my life. And that was to teach the Emancipation Proclamation. And Brother Glenn, we're going to be back in a couple of minutes. We're going to have commercials. And when we come back, I want you to share. And I'm asked that Sharon can put up that awesome picture of your great uncle, and you'll share your story about him. Okay.
All
So
right.
we're so grateful for everyone who's here today, being with us. Okay. So we're having some other challenges. Can't find the original video. Okay, well, we're just going to move on. So now I'll be right back. We also want you to know that if you want to talk with either the North or make comments, that you can call our number. I'm going to ask that that number be placed on the screen for you, 515-605-9325. And you can also find us on Facebook Live and YouTube. Okay? The number there is on the screen. So we will be right back. Let Joy kind of navigate through this world right now. And I want to thank our callers on the board. I see your numbers here. And if you want to speak with our guest here, then I just ask that you press the 1 and we will put you right on. Okay? Be right back. Don't stray away.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
All right, this is Mama Joy returning back to Walk in Your Divine Authority. And we have a guest here today, none other than Pastor Marian North and her husband, Glenn North, and her son. You know, we've got a family here. I don't have this too often. So I'm really excited about it. And before we go, I have a caller. And I don't know what their comments are, but I'd like to just let you know that you're not here by yourself. And let me find out what it is, what comments that they want to speak to you about. They just put their hand up, and that's caller 0048. Can you give us your name, please, and tell us where you call it from?
Reverend Fanny Smith calling from Chicago, Illinois.
Wait, hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Can you all hear us? Yes. Fanny, I think you have Fanny. I think you've got two things going. Are you watching a YouTube and you're on the phone too?
I'm here.
Yeah, turn off your computer because we're getting a lot of feedback. So just mute your computer so we can hear that beautiful melodious voice of yours. Okay, there we go. Are you there, Benny? I didn't say mute the phone. Mute the computer. Mute the computer so we can hear, because when you our callers, when you call, if you're watching us, and I know many of us want to watch us on the Facebook or the YouTube, but when you call in to speak with us, you have to mute your computer. Otherwise, you'll be getting feedback from the talk radio and the computer. So, are you there, Reverend Fanny? Oh. Okay, well, we're gonna open up and be ready for you. I'm gonna leave the mic open just in case. Oh, she's just dropped. So, well, we'll just back. Well, Glenn, brother Glenn, it's all yours. What
Oh,
have you tell us share with us today? Say hi to our
well,
audience.
well, hello, audience, and thank you so much, Reverend Mama Joy, that you have us on your show today. This is a wonderful thing you're doing. I'm very grateful for your efforts, and I feel very, very touched and inspired by your calling, and to recognize the force and power of women in solving the problems of the world and bringing us to a world of peace. So you're completely on the right track, and I completely support you in what you're doing, as well as my lovely wife here, who is a kindred spirit. So thank you. And I just want to bring a little bit of a personal feeling to the experience of Gettysburg. As Marian and you have mentioned, our family visited the battlefield about a month and a half ago. And it was a very profound experience. The battlefield itself is about 5 miles north to south, and it's about 3 miles east to west. It's a huge area. And it fully encompasses the city of Gettysburg, the village of Gettysburg. I think it was Joseph Stalin who said that one death is a tragedy, but a million deaths is a statistic. And as Marian mentioned, Abraham Lincoln in his Gettysburg Address said that the soil at Gettysburg is consecrated by the blood of the people who suffered and died there. And as we toured that battlefield, we spent an entire day, and it's such a huge area that they have a self-guided auto tour. You can use an app on your phone, and you visit about 25 different sites that were important in that battle. And I want to talk about, to give it a personal touch, not a statistic, but a tragedy. I want to introduce you to the brother of my great-grandfather who was at that battle. And this is his picture. Yep, and I guess you have it, and there it is. Yes, that's him. Isn't he a handsome lad? And isn't there a family resemblance there? But anyway, in the summer of 1863, Robert E. Lee, who is thought by many to be by far the greatest and best general of the Civil War, who unfortunately was on the side of the South fighting on behalf of the Confederacy for secession and the promulgation of slavery. Unfortunately, he was fighting for the South, but he had decided and he had won every battle in the Civil War up to that point, as Marian said. And in the summer of 1863, he decided to take the fight to the north, and he took his army, his Confederate army, up through Maryland and into southern Pennsylvania, and was attacking the Union and attempting to weaken their ability to make war by attacking their manufacturing centers and so on. And his ultimate goal was to actually come back and attack Washington and take the capital. So Abraham Lincoln, of course, very concerned about that, instructed his generals to go out there and find the Confederate Army and confront them and hopefully expel them from the North and hopefully defeat them. And Abraham Lincoln was very frustrated because up until that point, he had not been able to find a general to command the Grand Army of the Republic, the Union Army. He had not been able to find a general who he felt was aggressive enough and talented enough to be victorious. So on the eve of the Battle of Gettysburg, he changed generals once again, and he put in command a guy by the name of Meade, M-E-A-D-E. And the two armies were moving through Pennsylvania, and just by chance, a unit of 1,000 Union cavalrymen encountered on the highway, the road northwest of Gettysburg. They encountered coming toward them a force of 12,000 Confederate infantry.
My Jesus.
And the Union cavalry dismounted their horses. They had one man hold 4 horses while the other 3 engaged in battle against the approaching Confederates. And of course, they were vastly outnumbered, so they had to continually retreat. And word got back to the main Union force, and they sent reinforcements. And in that group of reinforcements was my great-great-uncle, whose photo we just showed you. And in a woods northwest of Gettysburg, the Confederates entered one side of the woods, and the Union forces, the Union reinforcements, including my great-great-uncle, entered the other side of that woods. And a fierce, horrible battle ensued with much loss of life and injury, suffering. And my great-great-uncle was shot through both arms. And in one of his arms, he had a compound fracture with the bone sticking out. Needless to say, that was the end of the Battle of Gettysburg for him. He was evacuated to a hospital where his wounds were treated, and fortunately, he survived. Of course, many people injured in those days did not survive. They succumbed to infection because they didn't have antibiotics, and they didn't have the understanding of germs and so on that we have today. So we were at the site of that battle, and it really touched home to me because I knew that my relative was there. And you could almost feel the blood in the ground, and you could feel the sorrow at that site. Now, I've talked about my great-great-uncle, but I also want to talk briefly about his father.
Can we just get a little pause of that? Can we just get a little pause of that? Because I can hear you, I can feel you, and that's why we are calling this the sacred echoes of Gettysburg. Because you are here, those people are not dead. That spirit is still here with us. And when we forget about them, we should know what is going to happen to us up in the road. This nation will never heal, Brother Glenn. It will never heal if we forget them. We will never heal if we claim to be children of the Most High and cannot garner up enough courage and love and forgiveness most of all. To be able to sit down and say, I repent. I'm sorry. And I am so honored to have your presence as a part of a prayer. Because when I'm here on this show of the Female Solution, yes, Heidi, I agree. So much sacrifice. And it is hard to even fathom. You're right. I pray for God to bless me with ancestors of people who are a part of that battle, that story, so that we can hear them. We're talking about a Gettysburg battle where we had over 51,000 casualties, 23,000 casualties on the Union side, and 28,000 men, husbands, uncles, nephews, sons on that battlefield of Gettysburg. We had over 51,112 men out there on this American soil that many people, the only thing they could remember was the very thing that Abraham said. They will long not remember what we say here, but we don't want them to forget what they did here. We know the the Emancipation Proclamation address that he had, but we have forgotten the sacrifices of those. And your uncle, over 51,000, and most of the people, as you said, they passed, they died because of the disease, not the bullet, but because of the disease and the inept way of not knowing how to handle such a massive number of people. And not only that, they didn't have any way of connecting all those bodies.
Yeah.
That it was so great until the kind of system we have now to gather up bodies of wounded soldiers or those who have been lost. That had not even taken place yet. So many of these, I implore you to go to your Google and get some of the images. Some of those men, their bodies decayed out on the field, and they are buried right there on the field and were turned into bones. They were burying bones because they could not handle all of that death. Oh, we cannot forget this. And we can't stay bitter. And I'm going to let you finish, but I just had to say that because it's the power of the people and the love of God in the people and the love of the people's love for this nation as the providence of God that they went forth like this. There's a scene that True Blood gives, and if you want to read the story on the Abraham Lincoln Lessons in Spiritual Leadership, you see that this is we had a great theologian as a president.
We did. Yes.
A great theologian, a man who prayed all day, but carried his Bible all day, read the Bible back and forward. We're in the divine hands of God, but we're not going to let it slip away. That's why we have this program today, because we've forgotten, but we're reminding them. And I just had to say that, Glenn, because your uncle is present with us right now. What was the inspiration for Daniel going into the law? Was that part of it? Somebody we all should remember. I must have to hang his picture up and I'm gonna say, hey, he was on my program. Thank you. So while you were there, what were you sensing? I never really understood the spirit world that much, but I do know that when I'm there and I can feel the presence. Did you hear? Could you even fathom the mourns? Thank you, Sharam, for putting up these pictures, because one of the things that really got to me when I start looking at the pictures and reading more about the Battle of Gettysburg, it was, I would say, 98% hand-to-hand combat. It was men with band gorging and going forth. It was hand-to-hand combat. That rapid firing rifle came in during that time, but that wasn't utilized to a great degree. These men, and these were brothers fighting brothers, fathers fighting sons, because of what they believed God was leading them to do and whose side. That's the most important thing. And I think most people forget, or I probably don't even know, that this was a war where Christians in the North was fighting Christians in the South.
Yeah.
So what was your thought on that, Sister Marian, as a pastor and one who is aware of crises and how this type of situation can traumatize? You said it was not planned. Gettysburg was not a planned battle.
No,
but
it was not.
And how do you think that impacted psychologically on the people of Gettysburg? And do you feel it's still there? Do you feel it's still impacting on them?
Yeah, I think it's not possible to go there, Reverend Joy, without being touched by the reality of what happened at that place, and to sit at the gateway to the cemetery there, to see all those white stones lined up, trying to make honor to the people who died there. It's a very powerful experience to stand at the place where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, and to understand that in less than 3 minutes, he summarized something so much deeply ingrained in the heart of America. That was not his words. Yes, he spoke the words, but God spoke through him. It was God who was trying to give the consciousness to the nation about what it needed to do in order for it to be able to accomplish what God needs America to accomplish. So God brought many people here, but the people here, they need to make oneness together, because this is God's land. So the experience of being there, it's a very holy experience. I don't know if the picture came through, but there's one picture our family took with President Lincoln. He wasn't there. It's just a statue, right? But you feel like...
Did you send that to me?
Last night, yeah.
I sent you those pictures in the text, Sharam, and I sent that. It's a statue.
Yeah.
There were several statues. Yeah. I wish you could put them on so we can see parts of the visitation that they had, because they sent several pictures of the family. That picture. Tell me about this particular picture. This one gave stats about how many people died.
Right. In particular.
Yeah, yes. I remember.
Being from Wisconsin, we especially wanted to visit all the Wisconsin monuments. So these are of the Iron Brigade. They list the people who came from Wisconsin, who fought in this battle. And Wisconsin, interestingly enough, has a very high percentage of eligible people who participated voluntarily in the Civil War. So she only became a state in 1848. But 20 years later, she's heavily engaged. 12 years later, in this war. So these memorials are really moving.
It's something, when you say that, when I saw the pictures, and I went into the Google and got images, and when I saw Louisiana, something happened to me. Because it was a distance. But when I saw the state of Louisiana, which is my home state,
right,
I said, Louisiana was there. You see all of these states that was participating. Look, tell us about this. What's this statue right here? What's this about?
This was a memorial, I think, for the people of Pennsylvania. And it was very interesting because it said in this memorial, we are putting people from different walks of life. And it listed them, and it said one of the people is a youth. and one is a young man, as if they were two different things. And it was immortalizing with gratitude the unity that came about as people came together to fight for something bigger than any of them, regardless of their occupation or their education, but because of their belief in something that Lincoln lists as something holy, that could be reserved at this time. And it was, it's very powerful, because when we see these statues of these young men, then it could be your son, Reverend Joy. It could be my son, who was there. And there's so much poignancy, to appreciating that. So I think when you're ready, if Daniel could share a little bit about his experience, I think it would help to round out the perspective from a patriotic point of view.
I'm ready for Daniel. I'm ready. And before I want you to set yourself up with that Emancipation Proclamation. And Zelda Robinson says, "Good afternoon, beautiful people enjoying the show from Turks and Caicos." Really? Thanks for sharing this information. Thank you, Zelda, for sharing it. And thank you, Minister Rosa, who is also a member of Reverend Stalin's church. Right. And thank you, Heidi Vetter. So are you ready for that? Prepared that, reading that and setting this up for us? I am just, this is touching. Let us know when you're ready, Daniel.
Oh. Hi, Reverend Mama Joy. I have the Gettysburg Address, which I put in the chat. I also am just bringing up the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863, which I have in front of me now. Would you like me to read from it?
I'd like for you to read it. The print from there is very small. Can you read it? Okay.
I can read it.
Because you can get a text of it, but you're reading from the actual, the script one, right?
Oh, no, I have a transcription of it in typeface.
Awesome. Yes, I would love to hear you say it, read it, because I think that too needs to be refreshed in our minds.
Issued January 1st, 1863, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Whereas on the 22nd day of September, A.D. 1862, a proclamation was issued by the President of the United States containing, among other things, the following, to wit, that on the first day of January A.D. 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then, thenceforth, and forever free. And the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authority thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of such persons, and will do no act or acts to repress such persons or any of them in any efforts they may make for their actual freedom. That the proclamation will, on the first day of January aforesaid, by proclamation, designate the states and parts of states, if any, in which the people thereof, respectively, shall then be in rebellion against the United States, and the fact that any state or the people thereof shall on that day be in good faith represented in the Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto at elections wherein a majority of the qualified voters of such states shall have participated, shall, in the absence of strong countervailing testimony, be deemed conclusive evidence that such state and the people thereof are not then in rebellion against the United States. Now, therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, by the virtue of the power in me vested as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, in time of actual armed rebellion against the authority and government of the United States, and as a fit and necessary war measure for suppressing said rebellion, do, on this first day of January AD 1863, and in accordance with my purpose so to do, publicly proclaimed for the full period of 100 days from the first day mentioned above, order and designate as the states and parts of states wherein the people thereof respectively are this day in rebellion against the United States, the following, to wit, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, except the parishes of St. Bernard, Pelquimines, Jefferson, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, Ascension, Assumption, Terrebonne, La Fourche, St. Mary, St. Martin, and Orleans, including the city of New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, except the 48 counties designated as West Virginia, and also the counties of Berkeley, Accomack, Northampton, Elizabeth City, York, Princess Anne, and Norfolk, including the cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth, and which accepted parts are for the present left precisely as if this proclamation were not issued. And by virtue of the power and the great purpose aforesaid, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are, and henceforth shall be, free, and that the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authorities thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons. And I hereby enjoin upon the people so declared to be free to abstain from all violence, unless in necessary self-defense. And I recommend to them that, in all case when allowed, they labor faithfully for reasonable wages. And I further declare and make known that such persons of suitable condition will be received to the armed forces of the United States, to garrison forts, positions, stations, and other places, and to man vessels of all sorts in said service. And upon this act, sincerely believed to be an act of justice, warranted by the Constitution upon military necessity, I invoke the considerate judgment of mankind and the gracious favor of Almighty God. So concludes the Emancipation Proclamation.
Thank you so much. My goodness. Now, my error on this, I wanted the Gettysburg Address, but I told you the Emancipation Proclamation.
I
And
also have that one, but
you know what, Daniel? I just want to tell you, I'm gonna let you do that one too a little later. Maybe your dad can read that one. I'm gonna have everybody doing assignments today. I want you to know what Daniel just read. If you notice that he concluded with a prayer. How many of us know that the Emancipation Proclamation had a prayer in it? How many of us know that when Daniel read, Daniel acknowledged the presence of God 5 times in that document? Pastor North, what is it that has us so torn up until even when something is written and we have our children reading it in school that we don't even see God? God is mentioned 5 times in that. And there's a prayer there for us. How did we miss it? How did we miss it? Got sponsors now at this point. Daniel, when we get back, I want to hear your story about your visit at the Gettysburg battlefield.
all right.
I want to fit him. That sounds okay, Daniel. I'm going to pop you right.
Happy to share.
And great reading. Thank you so much. Thank you so very, very much. Hey, don't stray. Don't go away. we're coming back, and we are just looking forward to continuation of this concentrating discussions on the Gettysburg Address through the eyes of the North. Not the North Country, but Glenn, Marian, and Daniel North. Okay? All right, great. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much.
Oh, man. I sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark.
Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our home? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. 312-849-3456.
I'm Yata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
All right, so we're returning back. We want to thank you for staying and not straying away. We want to thank each and every one of you on Facebook and YouTube. Just put your comments in, as we will now enter into the second half of our show today with the North, sharing with us their visit to the Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And now we're going to hear from Daniel North, sharing his opinion and his feelings and his experiences on that great battlefield that he was a part of because his uncle was. How about that? Ready, Dan?
I am ready. Thank you, Reverend Mama Joy, for allowing me to be on the program today and to share my experience there. As I was at Gettysburg, I felt the very somber feeling, of course, that one feels at any place where so many died. And I had to reconcile that feeling with the excitement of learning so much about the history of my own relative and so many others our country who met on that great battlefield, as Lincoln said, and fought for the soul of our nation.
Yeah.
And I also was, my father visited the battlefield many years prior, and it was amazing to me to hear how when he was there, he the first time did not have so many, even the monuments around. And when we were there, we had a tour which hooked up to Bluetooth in our vehicle, and we were able to have a ranger on the Bluetooth guide us through the battle in its 3 days of July 1st to July 3rd, that I felt there was so much effort had been put into honoring this battle, even in my father's lifetime. And he was born so long after the battle, almost 100 years, and yet still so much is going into honoring this battle so long after it concluded, almost a century before my father's birth. So I was struggling to reconcile the sadness with the excitement I felt there, and learning, as my parents have said, about the Wisconsinites who were there, and my own relative who was there near the very beginning of the battle.
I can sense I can sense your struggle even now. Because
Yes.
I think that what I'm hearing from you and I'm feeling from you is, number one, you're mentioning the time so many times, 100 years, and you said, and it really wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And I also hear from you as to why is it so few people really know about this battle? Why is it that we don't talk about this battle? And then not only that, but in that battle, you had people who were alive during the Revolutionary War. It was only 80 years. So if they were 20 or 15, or as your mom said, and that was the thing that would just take me off, is when I saw the young people. Some of them were drummers, but they were kids. But they were willing to sacrifice their life and be on that battlefield, because to them, that was the most courageous thing that they could ever do for God and their country. I feel you, Daniel. So what do you think we have to do to bring this battle, as so many of them are? There are so many holy grounds that are not even being recognized. What do you as a young man feel we can do to improve America by bringing them into the remembrance of these sacred acts of duty, so that we won't have to repeat?
I think one thing about this this battle, and I think many battlefields, is, although it's not as far as the United States goes, so far away from a major population center, I think it's within 2 hours of one. But that's still inaccessible to many people who have to go, I guess, out of their way to visit it. And so one thing I think we can emphasize is getting this battle into the U.S. history curriculum in schools, and getting it not only in the curriculum, but emphasized there, because that's something that reaches almost everyone in the nation.
That's true. Put it in the education system. And, you know, I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I talk about the education system. Every year, we would go to, in my class, F.P. Rickard was my grammar school. And the teachers would take us to the Robert E. Lee Circle. General Robert E. Lee Circle. And we would put a wreath there. We would pray a prayer for him. And we would sing songs to Robert E. Lee. Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. But that song was so dear to me, I would have tears. Seriously. Because I knew nothing about slavery. And we sang the whole song, and when I got to the song part of it, says, "Oh, I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray." Because in Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. I was ready to die for Dixie and Robert E. Lee, because my teacher says these Northerners, them Yankees, won the war and changed our way of life. There's the picture there. A few years ago, they took it down. But I'm telling the story, and when they took it down, I felt a part of me go down, because if we think we're going to erase history or change history by taking the statues down, do you know when you do that, you avoid the story? Did it ever happen? But that statue that you see there, and it's a big circle, and every year I would go. No one taught me about it. And I had a great love for General Lee, because he changed our way of life. And my way of life was my grandpa. I didn't know, I had Tony in the country. I go visiting my cousins in the country. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And I say, how dare they change and want to stop my grandparents from living their life? And that's what I thought. No one taught me about slavery. Oh, wow. Yeah, it took him down. I literally cried, because as a child, I was taught to love this man. And I never lost respect for him as a general. And that's the reason why it was such a force that the Confederate had, was because he and Grant both served at West Point. He was a great man. Great generals honor great generals. Mm-hmm. And he is to be respected. And for a long time, I stood in judgment between the North and the South. But when I learned that you write about what you believe, then it's a question that it's in our court. It's to say who was right and who was wrong. Because slavery was also in the North for a long period of time. And it was just leaving from that point. The education system is something, Daniel, that we take for granted. And in the South, they were taught that God's heaven meant that black people would be the slaves permanently for them, because that was their heaven on earth. And they taught that in the churches.
Wow.
Abraham Lincoln said it best, and I'm going to leave that because I want to get back to you and your mom. And that is, Abraham Lincoln said this. He said, I can't fault these people for what they believe, because if I had been raised down there, I would believe the same thing.
Mm.
And that's the reason why it's important for us to put this on the table. Who was right and who was wrong? They were Christians. Both used the Bible as a source of directions.
Mm.
Is the Bible in a crisis? Are we in a crisis because of the Bible? Because they both use the Bible. So I've come to the point that when the Lord gave me the Emancipation Proclamation, and I saw these people holding their children and laughing at the lynchings of my people in my community. You know what, Glenn? The Bible is so true. It says, train up a child in the way they should go, and they will not depart from the path. It didn't say what kind of training. It just said training.
Mm.
Hello? And we just take for granted that our understanding of what a child should have is it. But they didn't have the same understanding, and their parents didn't. What part of law are you studying in, Daniel?
My emphasis is in criminal defense and also in malpractice law, medical malpractice.
Ooh, a lot of that going on. That's
Yes,
another
indeed.
one.
There's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's needed. And the quality of your service depends upon your own heart.
That's so true.
On your own heart. Because, down south when I was coming up, we couldn't go to white lawyers. We couldn't go into the hospitals. They let us die on the steps. Because we don't serve Negroes. That's what they called us when I was born. We don't serve them. You have to find your own. And they just let you die out there because of the idea of what you have. Criminal justice, that wasn't a crime. So I'm grateful to know that you are studying into that, because there's so many things that are going on that's just not just. And the only way it's going to be corrected, it's not the field you go into, it's the heart that you have within yourself and the field that you go into, whether or not your service is going to be honorable before God and man. Hello. Or for your own good. You know what I'm saying? For selfish reasons.
Yes.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, now, Brother Glenn, what you have to say?
Can I take you back to the battlefield?
Take me back. Take us back.
I just want to tell you about the father of the gentleman whose picture we saw earlier,
Wonderful.
who is my great-great-uncle. So we're talking about now my great-great-grandfather. And when the Civil War broke out, he wanted desperately to enlist as a soldier because he was rabidly anti-slavery. And he's likened by my sister as a kind of a John Brown type guy. He just wanted to get out there and make a difference. But they would not allow him to enlist because he was 60 years old. And he was beyond the age limit allowable for a Civil War Union soldier. So he eventually told them that he was actually 40 years old, and he enlisted. And they, of course, eventually they found out that he was older than that, so they transferred him. They transferred him. No, he was in a Wisconsin regiment, but they transferred him to a Missouri regiment because apparently they didn't have the same age limitations. So he was able to serve throughout the Civil War in the position of chaplain for his regiment. And he was able to, get in there and make a difference.
Wow. Found a place for him that he caught. That's some remarkable. Carry a gun, carry a Bible. I love that. He just wanted to be a part of it. My goodness. How did you get that part of the story?
Both of my sisters have done a lot of genealogical research. So they have unearthed that through the years, and they've been in touch with, descendants, cousins, relatives, and so on. And there are actually internet groups of our relatives who compile and have this information about our genealogy and our ancestry available. So it's fascinating. It takes a lot of detective work, a lot of sleuthing to ferret this information out. And my sisters have the time and the patience to do it. So that's where a lot of this information has come from. And my sister has a photograph of my great-great-grandfather, the chaplain, surrounded by the officers that were in his unit.
It wouldn't be any of those pictures that you can get, because I have a few pictures of the chaplains with some of the troops. I'm wondering if that was one of the pictures of your great-great-grandfather. That is amazing too. Well, now you got to read stories. The power of the story are, to me, and I'm listening to you all as you're telling the stories. You know the only difference between the stories that you're sharing now and the stories in the Bible? There's only one difference. They're speaking to from the point of God, bringing them through. The Spirit of God giving them encouragement. It was the Spirit of God that was in your grandfather to be a part of that by any means necessary. And to me, that he finally was able to be accepted as a chaplain is a strong sense of divine intervention for your family. Because he could have been a water boy. He could have been one of the not the grave diggers, but collecting of the bodies. But he went in as a chaplain, an encourager, to bring solace and to bring comfort and to bring hope to those men so that they could withstand the battle and all of the things going around about them. He's the only one that the troops could go to for solace. Think about that. Because he was what? A man of God. Come on, Brother Glenn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He was a man of God. How sacred can you be? How can you dismiss that? Daniel? That's the only difference between the story. How do you figure it? You know it by your fruit. That's what Jesus said. Know them by their fruits. But more importantly, the discord. Yeah. And that was another thing too. Abraham Lincoln was the one who initiated chaplains into the military.
All right.
Wow.
And he appointed chaplains for the black military soldiers, like the 154th Cavalry. Those, and nobody wanted black folks, but he said no, they want God because he know it. He said, look, that's your ultimate protection. And he showed equality on the battlefield by allowing chaplains in both the black or the Negro regiments as well as the whites. And to me, that is a strong indication of God's favor on your family, because God delivered his heart's desire. Was Nellie Norton, the Southern slaver? Oh, Southern slavery in the Bible. Yeah. A scriptural reputation. Yeah, to supporting slavery.
Right.
So
Refutation.
Huh?
Refutation.
Okay. I need my glasses on. Good glass. Yeah, I need those glasses on. Well, you know, we're going to go into our last half, and that's 30 minutes for our program. And that is our last group of sponsorship. And then we will be turning off. So I just want you to give some thoughts. Which one of you are going to read?
Sister Fanny wanted to talk.
Okay, thank you.
I can wait till after the
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Reverend Fanny Smith, who's on the line. You know what? Now you know she called. Now she reminds me of your great grandpa, who they say he was too old to come in and carry a gun, but they let him come in and carry a Bible. So
I can wait till after your commercial. I can wait till after.
thank you. I don't want to put you before because I know it'll be late for my commercial. So let me bring the sponsors in, and I'll be right back with you. So very much. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so again, Facebook. We have comments, Facebook and YouTube comments are here. If you want to speak to us, you can dial in 515-605-9325. Okay, so we are going to go now to our final sponsoring before we just turn off and move into another portion of our life. So right now, we want to thank you to our sponsors who are faithfully supporting us. And don't go away and don't stray.
You worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com.
Okay, very good. And we have another commercial. We're going to do that one. Okay, let's see.
Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solutions Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts. On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platforms to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we will see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to OnAirEverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time.
Okay, now we're entering into the last 25 minutes of our show. We want to say thank you to the North family for being our guest today, and those of you in our listening audience on this Echoes, the sacred Echoes of Gettysburg. And now we're going to ask that Reverend Fanny Smith come in with comments, and then I'm going to ask after that that the reading of the Gettysburg Address be read from the North family. Volunteer, please. Reverend Fanny, how are you today? How are you? How are you?
Well, I'm great. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so delighted and so proud. I wish that all of America could hear this conversation. I truly do. It is phenomenal. I have to call you Sister North because you know that's what you are to me. You are my girlfriend. You are my God friend. And of course, I've met your husband many times up at the Chicago Family Church. It's so good to see your son as well and hear your responses. I am so enlightened, to be honest with you. We never know and never read enough, but to have your information and your background from the trip that your family took and the relationship you have with the Gettysburg and unfortunately the death and the sacrifices that your family has made. I just applaud you, Mama Joy. I applaud my brother Sharam and all those who are involved with this day. Unfortunately, I cried a little because I know the importance of what you guys and what we're talking about today in the world today, the absence of a study of history in the way that modern educated Americans, well-to-do people are not stressing it as often or as much as we should. It is a tragedy. It really is. But again, I just want to give you accolades, Mama Joy, in bringing this to the fore. And I really do hope that you and Sharon will find a way to not exploit, but to send this message out. And my sister and brother North, just mentioning Mother and Father Moon, so many of your statements reminded me of hearing them in their readings of forgiveness. And freedom is not free. And that goes with wars, it goes with religion, it goes with so many things. We have to act and react, even in sickness and death. So again, I waited. I'm doing some other things, but you just enlightened me today. And of course, we just celebrated a memorial for those who lost their lives. But I want to tell you, this 2 hours has not been in vain. You certainly have put the nail in the wall for me as far as I'm concerned. I wish more of this was taught in school, like Mama Joy said. Unfortunately, it isn't. And your son, oh my God, just to know that a young man has the thoughts, and he's been exposed to his background, his parents, his grandparents, and uncles, and all that, and aware of it. He knows the history. He knows because he's living it every day. So again, congratulations, Joy. My brother and sister North, you know I love you, girl. I love y'all. And it's really wonderful hearing your voice, and I hope to see you again. But good work today. And nothing was, no stone was unturned. And you're speaking the truth. And I really appreciate you. So thank you so much. God bless you. See you soon.
Thank you, my sister. I tell you, I think she's the hardest working woman. I mean, and so supportive. When Reverend Fanny steps in, things start happening, moves. And I've been in the position as the coordinator for ACLC, which I take very seriously. And God told me to go on a sabbatical so that I can be more effective with ACLC, because I really didn't know much about it. And because of Reverend Fanny Smith that I was able to exercise it to bring about, some really needed changes, support from my heart, support and encouragement, and fill me with the knowledge of what all this was about, because I really didn't know. I'm continuously learning. So she's a mentor to me. She's a mom to me. She disciplines me too. So anyway, so she's just invaluable, and I've met so many amazing people through her. And even with this, I am so full to be able to make this, because to me, this coming together with you all as a family is a very powerful statement. And you're standing as a family that's willing to make a statement. Because that's all you need is one family just standing in America, willing to stand for the truth. Not judgment, but the truth that needs to be into the system that Daniel referenced. How do we get this into our educational system? How do we take this story that you have? Because when you think of the scriptures, God's blessing be upon that book forever. Your story would be the beginning of that completed testament. You know that? To have someone in your history, in your family line, that still wanted to participate, even when he didn't even look at the age. He went with his mind. Something that I like your grandpa, your great grandpa.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man you want. Wrong. What age was just a number. He wanted to be a part of it, and he found a way to do it. He had the energy to do that. Think about it. He did not give up. That's powerful. And God made a way for him. And that is the last will and testament for him, that he lived and he died for what he believed in.
Amen.
And so many of us make excuses for our age. Well, hey, it's what you believe you are. And he believed that in his heart that God wanted him to be there. Brother Glenn, can you feel him?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. Daniel yes. Feels something. Yes. Daniel gets so choked up there. When he was talking, I said, come on, let your grandpa, let that uncle just speak through you.
Yes.
Let speak through you. Your mama came all the way from Australia. Learn about that history too. She came from a group of people, golly gee, who were thrown away. And hopefully that they would destroy themselves, they because
Yeah.
they were so-called bad people, unacceptable. But look at your mother and look at Australia, because God is in each and every one of us.
Amen.
Yes.
And everyone has that ability to be the overcomer. No weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Amen.
Bring the words, and you know them by the fruits. And so you are the fruit of your uncle, great uncle Cornelius North, and your great grandfather. I didn't even get his name. You didn't give us his name.
Yeah, his name is Reuben North.
Reuben North.
Yeah.
And then I have fun with this kind of stuff. When people would say, "Go west, young man," my people in the South said, "Go north."
And we're glad you did.
And so I have the north. So who's going to read the Gettysburg Address for us?
Maybe Daniel can do it.
I'll volunteer. Do you want to volunteer also, Daniel? We'll let Mama Joy choose who she'd like to read it.
Well, you want to,
I think earlier you were called upon, if I recall correctly, Dad. Is that? But if you're not up for it, I, of course, am prepared to read it and more than happy to read it. But my recollection is you were called upon to read it. So
can we just use half of it? Half of it, you do half, and he does it. Daddy do half. I mean, after all, we got a great grandfather in here, and we got representation of a great uncle. So they one shared the battlefield, and wait a minute, was that the same battle? Was that the same battle they fought for? No, it couldn't have been. Your great grandfather, what battle was he in?
He was, Civil War. He did not make it to Gettysburg, is my understanding, but he was in quite a number of other battles further to the west. And I don't have the information right in front of me, but he also saw a lot.
He was president. Let's say he was in the war. He was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was there.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so why don't we just share it? We can from fourscore to.
Okay,
go for it, Dad.
Okay, I'll start out, and I'm going to read to the word detract, and then you can start with the world. Okay,
where's
Daniel?
detract?
That's about halfway through.
Okay, all right, Daddy and son. Let's get the ball rolling.
Okay, so this is Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, delivered at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, November 19th, 1863. And Marian mentioned earlier that we stood at the site where he delivered this address, and it's on Cemetery Hill, the Civil War battlefield cemetery where so many of these people lie to this day. So here is what Abraham Lincoln said. And again, it was only a 3 or 4 minute speech. I think it's 274 words or something like that. And everybody remembers this speech, but another gentleman spoke for 2 hours and nobody knows what he said. Or his name. But we remember what Abraham Lincoln said. So sometimes shorter is better. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract.
The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19th, 1863.
Praise God. Praise God. Praise God for that reading. Praise God for that reading. For the edification of our soul. Daniel, you had it right. You say these men were dying out here, giving their life for the soul of America. And the last two sentences that you read, we can put them back on the screen for us, please, Sharam. It's something that so many of us miss. And it says this. Hey, it's got it all in here. It says that from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause. And that cause were the birth words of our Constitution and the preamble, that we are in a nation that is ordained by God for the providential. Highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, which means we cannot forget them.
Amen.
We cannot forget the cause for which they stood for. And how blessed you all are to actually have evidence of your own flesh and blood being involved in that movement. He said that this nation, you see, once that battle and the war was won, it was not the same nation as it was before the Civil War.
That's true.
That this nation, under God, this has been born again, shall have a new birth of freedom. Those words. And that government, not the old government, but that government, the new government that has this new birth of freedom, this new, golly, I don't want to start preaching, of this new nation, under God, a God of liberty, a God of justice, a God of freedom, a God of love, a God of all that is good. That government of the people, by the people, for the people, and who's in the center of the people's heart? This new God understanding, That's when it says power of the people, it's because the people got to know what's in them. The people have to know who they are. The representation of God.
Amen.
And then the closing of it, Daniel, it says, shall not perish from the earth. Why? is because God is neither made, created, or destroyed. The Spirit of God is always going to be there. And we are those who are inheriting this. This document is so precious. And your great great uncle and your great 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 grand, you know, they wouldn't say grandpa or godfather, they'll say grandpappy.
Yeah.
Your grandpappy. Yeah, he was a snapper. He lived for this. This was a statement that stood for the hearts of the people who love God, love the nation, and love the mission of this nation.
Amen.
I'm so honored to have you all here today sharing with us. I pray that you will understand what a blessing that you've been to me and to my family and to the female solution. Because it starts as one. And when we do this, I'm going to ask that you please share it to your friends and to your family. Because this is powerful. The people, their civics is not even taught in schools anymore. Most of the students don't even know what being a citizen is. They've lost the knowledge of citizenship, and many of them don't know God. But I believe with this kind of dialogue, can we make a difference?
Yes.
Yes.
We can make a difference. Yeah. Power by the people, for the people, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We have to go to God to find that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to go to God. That's in our heart. And I thank you for sharing your ancestry and letting us know who you are part of and the job that we need to get done. So, in the last 2 minutes, can I get a closer from each one of you? Just a few seconds, because we're going to be tipping out of here. Give yourself a hand.
Yeah. Mama Joy, last week was Memorial Day services, and we attended the service in Rochester, Wisconsin. It's the 158th consecutive service that they have held on Memorial Day. And one of the features of that day was there were several young recruits from the Navy, and they explained the meaning of the folding of the flag. The flag is folded 13 times in the ceremonial folding of the flag. It represents the 13 original colonies of the United States. This flag folding, I was very moved by the young man who shared all these things, but I just want to summarize here, it doesn't take long. The first fold symbolizes life. The second fold represents a belief in eternal life. The third fold sorry, just a minute.
While you're looking for that, my granddaughter's going into the Navy in a couple of weeks.
God bless her. Yeah. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans who gave their lives in defense of the country in order to help attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold is in recognition of the nature of the country's citizen to trust in God. The fifth fold is a tribute to the United States. Our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold symbolizes where people's hearts lie in keeping with the words of our pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold pays tribute to the armed forces. After all, through our armed forces of the United States is protected against all enemies. The eighth fold is a tribute to those who died, and as Psalm 23 states, entered into the valley of the shadow of death. The ninth fold honors womanhood. The 10th fold is a tribute to fathers. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies in Judaism the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in the eyes of Christians God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And the 13th and last fold reminds us that when the flag is completely folded, in the uppermost corners signify our national motto, in God we trust.
In God we trust. And
Yes,
in that,
for my 2 cents worth, thank you so much for this program.
Sharon, would you start taking us out, please, with the closing of our show? I just want to thank you again. I know they folded the flag, but I didn't know that there was 13 folds. And again, if the flag is denoting this sacredness, then it should run over to us.
Yeah.
And we thank you for sharing with us the sacred echoes of Gettysburg. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Block Talk Radio. God bless you. God keep you. And we hope that you're able to find something to encourage you to walk in your divine authority. Thank you, Bruce, for coming in. Bless you.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family,